and welcome to Stories Found. Each week we feature funny stories, plays, and sketches from some of the most talented comedy writers around. I'm your host, Ava Love Hannah, a comedy writer and playwright in Austin, Texas. Joining me is my writing partner, audio engineer, and all-around cool guy, Paul Hannah. You're listening to Stories Found. Thanks for joining us for this special Best of Stories Found episode. We've recently updated our format to better highlight the amazing stories and audio dramas that we produce. This story was a fan favorite, and it still makes us laugh every single time we hear it, so we thought, hey, it's only fitting to show off the new format with this special episode. Stick around after the story for a hilarious interview with Ladi and hear the story behind the story. Stories Found is now proud to present 5 Calls by Ladi Loera.
I used to work in a paper warehouse in Houston. We sold skids of paper to businesses, churches, and schools. And one day, Chris walked in. And when I saw him, my stomach just dropped. There was something about him. Now, we also had a small office supply section, and that was the place that I was mostly in charge of. So I helped him put an order together and called him the next day when everything came in. He smiled so easily, and it was such a nice smile. I already had a big crush on this guy. Over the course of the month, he started coming in more and more regularly, and towards the end of the month, he was coming in every day, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day. Now, we had regular customers, and some of them would come in several times a day as well. But with Chris, it felt different. At least I hoped it did. One day, I am helping him put together an order, and he looks at me and says, you have always been so helpful to me. I would like to take you out for a beer. 3 things. Yay! The other thing, I hate beer. I have never had a beer that I've liked. People have always told me I'm drinking the wrong ones. The problem is the same with all of them. The taste. Ugh. 3rd thing, I'm going to drink that beer anyway. Chris picks me up at work. I get off at 5:30. We head out to a restaurant called Baba Yaga. We have dinner and a couple of beers. It was worth it. And we get to know each other. Now, up until this point, I am not even sure if this is a gay person. This is the 80s in Texas. We didn't talk about our sexuality. I was out to friends and coworkers and my family, but I wasn't out to everyone who came into the store, even the people with nice smiles. But over dinner, I found out, yes, indeed, this was a gay guy. In fact, he had been in a long-term relationship, almost 10 years. He had recently broken up with his partner, super recently, like that very morning. And they were going to continue living in the house that they had bought together. Now, some of you hear red flags. I just hear that he's available. Anyway, we spent a couple of hours talking. It's been a while, and it's really time for us to leave the restaurant, but we are having a nice time. We don't want to quit the evening, so he suggests that we go for a walk along Buffalo Bayou. We're following the trails, and we decide to take one of the trails that leads closer down onto the bayou, and we pass what can only be called a herd of fireflies. It was amazing. It was as if the universe said, let's give these guys a candlelit evening. We sat there and looked in awe. And then we looked at each other and we kissed. And it was a date. And we continued walking for about an hour, holding hands and talking, just getting to know each other. But it was late, and I had to go back to work the next day, and so did he. So he dropped me off at my car, and I went home. Now, I have no recollection of how I got home because all I did was play the date over and over in my head the whole time. The following morning at work, I was myself, and I tend to be a bit ridiculous at times. I was plotting the future, where we'd live, how many pets we'd have, the pets' names, the pet names we'd call each other. But what I didn't know is what's the proper etiquette, when dating. Years earlier, I had gone to the University of Houston, and at some point I became the president of the gay group we had on campus. So I was trying to recall conversations I'd had with some of the other people. And there's the common thing, 3 days, you can't call for 3 days. But someone else said, no, it's 5 days. It's a working week. And then someone else, no, it's absolutely 3 days, but it's a very specific 3 days. It's from Friday evening through Sunday evening because they have to know that you have other plans if they don't book you. And then I had a friend named Jim. Jim's just looked at us like we were all insane. Never call. You don't call them. If they don't call you, you move on. I have never had Jim's self-confidence. I probably never will. But I looked at everything that I had been thinking. I tried to do the math and plot out the perfect time to call. So I called him that day at 10. Hi, Chris. This is Ladi. I had a great time yesterday. It was so nice getting the chance to sit and talk to you and get to know more about you. I hope we can do this again sometime soon. I have lunch 12-ish. If you want to come by, we can have lunch together and visit. It would be great. I hung up the phone. That was a good call. I was proud of this call. I did not come across creepy. I did not come across desperate. I was nice. I was cordial. I was inviting. That call, I had nailed it. So you can only imagine how sad I was when he didn't call. And he didn't come back for lunch. Well, love requires action. And I am a man of action. So I called back at 12:30. Hey, Chris, this is Ladi. I called you earlier and you didn't call me back and you didn't drop by for lunch. And I was just calling to make sure you got the message and to let you know I'm here at lunch. If you feel like coming by, you can come on by. We can visit for a little bit. It would be great to see you again. Bye. That call sounded worse. I did feel like I sounded a little bit desperate during that call. In fact, I feel like I came across clingy and needy. And I'm not clingy and needy. Except at times I can be a little bit clingy and needy. And I know this about myself. And it would be the worst thing if that's the way Chris remembers me from now on. And if he ever calls me because of that stupid message. So I called again 45 minutes later. Hey, Chris. This is Ladi. I know I've already called you thrice with this call. I just want to say, I know it seems kind of weird that I'm calling you a lot, but I'm not really a weirdo. And yes, I know that's probably something weirdo people say, but I'm here, and if you want to come by, I have lunch at the same time all the time. You can come by anytime. We'll visit. It'd be great. Call me. I hung up the phone, and I am disgusted with myself. There is no reason for such blatant weirdness on my part. And I wonder, what is wrong with me? Do you know what the Skinner box is? The Skinner box is the box they used to run experiments on animals a long time ago, psychological experiments. They would put a bird in it, or rodent of some kind, and they'd hit a lever and they'd get a pellet of food. Well, what they find is that if they keep hitting the lever and they don't get a pellet of food, they do something different. Like maybe the bird will pick up its wing and then it hits the lever, it gets the food. So now it marries those two things together and it thinks it has to pick up the arm in order to get the pellet. But then at some point it doesn't get the pellet. So now it tries to figure out what else it needs to do. So it picks up a leg and it does this. And now it has this modern dance ritual that it is doing just trying to get fed. In my family, I was the rodent in the Skinner box. My parents are nice people, but they did some weird stuff. I find that they were not stingy with love at all, but they're kind of unreliable. What was cute one day was annoying the next day. What got you hugged one day got you scolded the next day. So all I was trying to do was find a way to be loved, but it kept changing. So there was no way me just being myself was ever going to be good enough. But what cemented this in my head was a conversation I had with my mother. I don't know what I had done. I probably had not cleaned my room, which as an adult is still a problem. And she looked at me, at the little boy that I was, and said in my mother's most beautiful sing-song voice, "Well, If you don't do what your mother tells you, I guess your mother just won't love you anymore. Oh my God! Can you imagine saying that to your child and thinking, oh, this is good. This is healthy for him. At this time, I realized that my parents, no matter how much love they have for me, they're just not safe. And for me, love is safety. Love is when you're able to be as weird as you naturally are, and there is still someone there willing to hold your hand. My fourth call was significantly shorter than the others. Hey, I know I've called a lot. It's just that I really had a great time. And I know I'm coming off weird, but I'm really a good guy. Give me a call. I hung up the phone. I am so angry at myself. I am walking around the store helping customers, but mentally kicking myself in the stomach the whole time. My fifth call was very simple. Hey, I'm so sorry. My heart was broken already, but it's my fault. I am the idiot in this, and I realize this. I don't understand what is wrong with me. It doesn't matter how I was raised. There is something inherently not right here. It's 5:30. We're getting ready to shut down the shop. I'm at the back register closing things out, and my boss comes and says, I think that guy you've been calling's out front. My first thought is, whatever you do, don't run to the front door. Don't run to the front door. I ran to the front door. And Chris was there smiling. He said, I've been at work at this stupid meeting all day. I just got home, took a quick shower, and decided to come and see if you wanted to go out for dinner. I said, you didn't get my calls? You called? I swear I heard a smile in his voice. He said, yeah, but of course I'm an idiot. So the next question, he says, 5 times? And I saw him. And his face just looked at me for a while, and then it melted into the most beautiful smile. He said, that is awesome! Well, why didn't he get my messages? Well, it turns out that his ex that he had just broken up with the day before took that day off and heard each and every one of my messages and erased them, each one as they came through. So he would never have known I'd called had I not been idiot enough to tell him. And he would have come to pick me up for dinner all on his own. I know, it is an awe. It feels to me like we have so many rules about the way we're supposed to be and who you need to be and the correct way to act. And all I really know how to be is me. But every once in a while, that's enough.
You've just heard 5 Calls by Ladi Loera. In addition to being an amazing storyteller, Ladi is the artistic director and producer for Testify, a fantastic live storytelling show in Austin, Texas. Make sure you check out their website, testifyatx.com, or head over to their YouTube channel later to see some of the amazing storytellers they featured. Ladi is hilarious, charming, and he's just an absolute blast to talk to. So let's jump into the interview and hear his story behind 5 Calls. Hi, Ladi. Welcome to Stories Found.
Howdy. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. Well, we are really, really excited to have you here and to have a chance to chat about your story, 5 Calls. It is really, really funny. I have to say that.
Well, it's funny, but the sad thing is it's also true. I just want to say this. There are people in the world who, when you're dating, they're all in the moment you meet them, and those people are really annoying people. And I know this because I am one of those people. And I have been told how annoying that is.
No, it's great. And it makes for a great story. So.
It does. It does. But I am that way. I'm from, if I like you, I'm all. I'm
That's
there,
it.
baby.
Well, so I have to tell you, okay, so the story is hilarious. And you sent it over, and I happened to be sitting there at the time. And when the email came in, and Paul was right next to me, I said, hey, we got a story. Let's listen to it. And so we listened together. We were both laughing so hard because it's funny. And it is. It's a little cringy, but it's really sweet and it's relatable, which is, that those are all the factors you need for a great story, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So I want to say, though, I had one problem with it, is that I wanted to accept it like right away. I was like, no, man, I got to play it cool. I got to like wait a couple days. I can't accept. So it shows just how relatable the story is for me. Because
yes,
I'm all in.
You had to wait your 3-day period as well.
Exactly. I couldn't email you within 30 minutes and be like, okay, yes, please. So yeah. So the story is it's about you. You meet someone and you end up calling them and then calling them and calling them.
Yes.
Waiting for a response.
I knew better. I knew better.
But something happens, right, when you're excited, or you're like, oh, I just need to fix it. And every time we go to fix something,
yes,
then it gets worse.
Yes, something else falls off. And that was the case. I don't know why I work. Well, I do. I have my theories of why I work this way. I've seen my mother. She got a new puppy, and I've seen her raise this puppy. And every once in a while, I'll look at him and I go, that's why I'm this way.
Oh no. Well, okay, well, you have someone to blame. So that then you can be like, it's not me.
You've got to. It's not me. It's got to be someone else.
Well, so the story takes place in Houston, and you do such a great job of describing the setting. And I think that's another thing we loved about it is Paul and I are both from Houston. We lived in the Montrose area for years and years. And I feel like I know the exact paper place you're talking about in the story. And as soon as you mentioned going to a restaurant, we're like, it's going to be Baba Yaga's. And it was, right? So were you raised in Houston, or did you spend time there?
No, I'm born and raised in Houston. And so I know, and the place was on Studemont. I don't know if that helps, but that is so funny. I born and I go intermittently to visit family. Eventually, Chris and I moved to California, and then California we moved back to Austin.
Oh, okay, cool.
Because California was too much.
Yeah, well, I mean, it seems beautiful, but here's the thing. I keep meeting people who are from Houston. It's like we all have this shared trauma. We kind of can't get away from it. We can't stray too far.
Yes, because I know Texas is problematic about so many things, but I still like it here.
I know, that's the thing. So, well, what brought you to Austin then?
Originally, Chris and I moved to Lago Vista. And I moved from there to Houston, to Austin proper. It was just, it was time to move into I did so many things in Austin that it was ridiculous having this 45-minute ride 2 or 3 times a day.
Oh, right. Yeah.
From Lago Vista to Austin, then back home, then to so I just ended up moving to Austin.
Well, and Austin has such a fantastic storytelling scene. I know Houston does too, but I mean, we just have a really great theater and storytelling scene here.
I think ours is funkier.
Yes, I do too. I think we've got some really interesting stories here. Well, so everybody talks about, storytelling sometimes when I'll mention it and they're like, well, what are you talking about? I'm like, oh, well, where you're telling stories or like at a party. I'm like, well, okay, not exactly. So I know that I wasn't really aware of storytelling at first. And then I was in Austin. I was a new mom. And, I had a 4-year-old, and I had a friend who was a performer. She had done spoken word poetry, and she knew the whole scene. And she asked me how my day went. We're at the library, and I'm like telling her, God, it was like a train wreck, and he's asking about genitals, and I might have scarred him for life. And she's looking for a book. She's hunched down on like a bottom shelf, and she starts laughing so hard at what I'm telling her that she falls over, and she looks up at me from the ground, and she's like, you have to tell people this story. I'm like, no, thank you. And so she was like, no, you do. And so that's how I got introduced to storytelling. I ended up on stage telling it. And every time afterward, people are like, oh, thank God for telling that. That happened to me too. So does that happen to you? How did you find your way into storytelling?
Well, first off, I want to say that does happen to me. Something else I want to say is I know the story you're talking about, and I heard that, and I was crying. I was laughing so loud. That is such a wonderful story.
Well, thank you. So when it was happening, it wasn't as funny, but I think that's what's so great about this storytelling world is we get a chance to sort of reflect and go.
Well, it's what I think they credit this to Mel Brooks, but I don't know if someone said it before him. But he always said that something if it happens, if I fall down and hurt myself, that is a tragedy. But if you fall down and hurt yourself, that is comedy.
Yes,
and that's what it is. We have no problem laughing at someone else. Even if they've done the same thing we did, it just softens the blow a little.
Oh, definitely. So when did you tell your first story? How did you find your way into this?
I joined Toastmasters, and from there, I found my way to testify. I told a story, and from that point on, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I did it at other events. And then Kate, who used to run Testify, she had a baby. And she decided, the Testify was it had been her baby, but now she has a real one. So I took it over, and I love working with storytellers. I love hearing people's stories, their story ideas, and helping them create the arc or whatever it is they're trying to say. To me, it's just so much fun helping people relate themselves to an audience, because invariably the audience understands.
Oh, always. Yes. That is amazing.
They no matter how bad you think what you did is, someone in the audience is going, "Oh, I've done that."
Yeah, and it's just the whole human condition, right? Like, and I it's been amazing to me because I've been to Testify a bunch of times, and to sit there and to hear, say 5 different stories in one night, each one different, every storyteller with different, sort of operational filters, but every story was relatable. I think one time, so George Saunders, I had read an essay, and he had gone to Dubai, and he was writing about, sort of, he didn't get his advance yet, and he's staying in this very fancy, hotel in Dubai, and they're wanting to kick him out because his credit card was rejected. And so he's like talking about hiding in this hotel until maybe the magazine will send his advance over. And I've never been to Dubai, but I remember going, oh God, this really feels really relatable about, when you're new in your career and you don't really have money and they're asking you to go do these travel things. So that's what I think I love so much about storytelling is you can always find 1 or 2 things in any story that you can relate to.
I absolutely agree. And I found that working with Testify, working with the storytellers that we get now. And by the way, if you get a chance, come and see or come tell a story. We'd love to have you.
Oh, I will. I'm going to come back.
I have to say that, and I want it on record.
Well, I've been hiding away like a hermit. I was like, all right, it's time to. And you guys, I mean, it is just the production values are fantastic. So yes, it's very tempting. Everyone should tell a story with Testify. So
I would love it, and awesome. We like working with it because what's interesting to me is I'm not going to say that. We have people that come with their idea of what a story is, and we help them with that. And one of the guys that was telling the story, apparently he had been telling the story for 25 years, and it's his favorite story, and it's about a plane wreck that he was in. But when you know something, you talk in a language that no one else gets.
Yes.
And since he understands planes, he was going, the confabulator was retorsioned, and the squib went to the floor. And no one knew what he was talking about. And I worked with him on how to make this more comprehensible for the audience. And after the show, his wife came and told me, this is the first time I have ever understood what he was talking about.
That is awesome.
She said, thank you so much for helping him. Now I don't mind if he tells the story to other people.
Well, so I think that I love that about Testify, because I've had friends say, oh, I couldn't tell a story. I'm like, yes, you can. They will help you. And I think that's what's so great about experienced storytellers is helping people sort of realize, oh, I do have these big sort of memoir moments in my own life, right?
Well, and I think because people always think that a story is Die Hard, or you have to be a firefighter who raced into a house and saved burning kittens and babies. But a really nice story can just be, you got up in the morning, you went on a walk, and you saw a butterfly, and it made you cry, and this reminds you of something.
Oh,
and that's a beautiful moment.
It is. And you know what? That's what I will tell people. They're like, well, where do you start your story? I'm like, well, for me, I kind of start in the middle. It's a crystallized moment. And I go, there's something about this moment that's important. And then to work my way out from that. What did I learn? Where did I go? That all will come, but you got to have that moment. So obviously, so people will ask writers, like, well, where do you get your ideas? Well, in storytelling, well, duh, it's your own life. But how do you personally know when something is a story versus just sort of an anecdote or a funny moment? Like, what is it that makes it for you?
Well, I think a story, you really have to, there's an arc there. And the way I look at a story is, I know they say it has a beginning, a middle, and an end, but a banana has a beginning, a middle, and an end. So that's not different from anything else.
Right.
I think of it, I look at it as, there's who you are, then what happens, and who you become.
Yes,
And that's
exactly.
the thing. Because it's something that causes you to change. And it doesn't have to be a lifelong change. It could be a change that lasts a day, but something that was important enough to you to cause some sort of change there for you.
Exactly.
And I think that's what people find interesting, because we go through this all the time. We're not the same people from day one to day two.
Exactly.
I'll wake up in the morning and I've been having oatmeal for 2 weeks because I'm on an oatmeal kick, and there's my partner gets more oatmeal. I said, no oatmeal. Because something has changed, and it's interesting. These things that change in us, they are wonderful stories, because we all have those moments where you're driving on the freeway and everything is nice, and all of a sudden you're really hacked off about something.
Oh yeah.
And that's a story, because
Exactly.
something caused you to remember being hacked off. What was it? Why are you mad all of a sudden? And I love those moments.
Oh, I think they're so important. And if you notice, like, so shows like This American Life, which has a degree of storytelling. That was my first exposure, I think, to storytelling. And then, The Moth, Testify. You guys sell out pretty much every show ever. So what is it about these storytelling shows you think that is so addictive to people?
I think, the thing that they say, I can't remember his name. It's that very foreign sounding name. And it's only foreign sounding to me because I'm an American. I'm sure to him it sounds absolutely normal. But he says that storytelling is what created who we are. That without storytelling, we would not be where we are now. And I think that's true. That the first stories people told were stories of survival. Just like the word "run" is a story, because there's an implied noun, and you got to get out of there. So if you look at stories as things of survival, then I think they are still that. But the world has changed so much that it's not inhospitable to a lot of us like it used to be.
Yeah.
So now stories are more about emotional change, emotional dangers, and emotional things that we have to go through. So it's still about survival, but it's moved to our head and our heart as opposed to chasing down dinner.
Exactly. I'll tell you, it happens a lot when I'm typing storytelling. I always have a typo and it ends up being story yelling. And I'm like, you know what? I love that. That works too, especially for...
That sounds like another idea for a show.
It does. Story yelling. Storytelling in angry times. No, there we go. We've already pitched it. We've got it.
I actually kind of like that.
Well, so one thing I have run into is explaining this genre. Do you ever have a hard time, like when you're putting out a call for submissions and you're saying, we want stories? And I've seen it happen to you guys. It happens to us. How do you go about explaining what Testify is, what you're looking for?
It doesn't seem to matter how many times we do it. There's always the next person that says, but what?
But what? Like yeah.
Because people have an idea of what a story is.
Right.
And usually they're just a fun anecdote or a nice romp of a story. It's not an actual story the way Testify classifies the story, which is we want an arc.
Yeah.
And people will also think that they don't have one because they say nothing happens in my life. You're 30, you're 40, you're 50. Things have happened to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Things happen to us all day long. So when we tell them what we do at Testify is we make a safe space for people to share who they are with an audience that wants to learn about them.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's perfect. So, let me see here. I do have one final question for you.
Oh, please.
And it's probably the most important. So, if I had called you 5 times asking you to be on the podcast, would you have still agreed to be here today?
You would have had me at the first call.
Because I would have called you 5 times if you hadn't responded. We were like, I remember I sent to the email. I was like, okay, now I just got to wait for him to respond. This is such a good story.
Well, thank you so much. I'm glad to be part of this. I went and listened. As soon as you put out that call, I went to listen to your whole season, and I loved it. I loved the plays. I loved the stories. I loved everything.
Well, we are super excited to have you here. You're going to fit in perfectly, and I'm telling you, I cannot wait. I wish I could listen to this for the first time with everyone. So it's that good. So thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a blast.
Thank you, Ava. Bye-bye.
Thanks for hanging out with us today on Stories Found. We've been your hosts, Ava Love Hannah and Paul Hannah. You can find out more about this episode, our amazing team, sign up for our newsletter, or see how you can be a featured guest on a future episode. You can do all of that and more over on storiesfound.com. Stories Found is recorded at ELA Studios, deep in the heart of Austin, Texas.